What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream. Guys, we are talking Colts news and NFL news today. Joining me, very special guest, someone that we haven't had on the podcast for quite a while, but you guys may know him as Culture Shock, co-founder and visual content coordinator of the Blue Stable. How are you doing today, my friend?
Hey man, feeling good. It's still victory week for us, so I'm feeling great.
I wish I could say the same thing that you said. I for one, like, this may make me a bad fan. I don't really know, but I'm not happy about that win. I look at it and I'm like, if this was any more of a competent team, we would have lost this game 9 times out of 10 the way that we were playing. It was a classic. I don't even know if I could say that, like, the defenses really were the problem as to why the offenses didn't go. We both knew coming into that game that the Colts and the Denver Broncos were two of the 3 worst teams in football when it comes to moving the ball. I don't know, man. I look at that game. I mean, I guess we might as well start with that. I mean, how did you feel about that game? Because obviously we did get the win. Some things look good and some things look really bad.
I was kind of embarrassed, to be honest, because as a fan, you always want your team to get as many primetime games as possible. But then when you look at the Colts and the offensive struggles they had all year, and then now it's nationally broadcasted, and it's like, oh my God, this is my team right now on TV, and we are not moving the chains. We're fumbling, throwing interceptions. It was stressful. I mean, but on the bright side, we had a kicker that could make field goals, so I was a little relieved off of that situation. And the defense stepped up. You're seeing guys from all sides of the field just go out there and make their presence felt because this is what they wanted. That was their moment for primetime television, and and usually they show up on primetime games. So I felt comfortable. I mean, the score could have been better, but it is what it is. It's a W.
Yeah, I mean, after that game, I think people were just like, this is not what Amazon paid for when they spent billions of dollars to get these kinds of games, right? Like, this is not what they wanted. People were just roasting the crap out of both of these teams for how that looked. Not a touchdown scored in that game when there should have been at least 3 or 4 scored in this game. I mean, ultimately, we saw the defense for the Indianapolis Colts. They really were the MVPs of this game. And then obviously there's Chase McLaughlin. We'll get to him at some point, but the defense really, I mean, they were the MVPs of this game. They were able to get pressure on Russell Wilson. It felt like a situation where they were supposed to do that, but it was good to know that they went in and they did the job that they were supposed to do. And it's good to know that at least one side of the football for the Colts is doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been saying this for a while. Like the Colts has always been a defensive team in my eyes. Like if we had to trust one side of the field, it definitely was the defense because we already know about the quarterback controversy and the circles we had to go through with that. But the defense, no matter which coordinator we have, has always been solid. Like they had their flashes and they had their moments. But definitely, for sure, love the defense.
And shout out to everybody who's in here right now. Be sure to like the stream, guys. Helps it get out to more people. Be sure to comment in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Channel support has been great recently. Greatly appreciate all of you guys. Who impressed you the most defensively in that game against Denver?
Well, for sure, still Grover Stewart. I think Grover Stewart's been the standout since week 1 and always will be. Even Stephon Gilmore, for sure, if you want to use him. I mean, that's kind of like an easy one, but for sure, Gilmore and Grover Stewart are definitely the top guys, in my opinion, that always stands out. You can use Rondy Thomas as well, but for sure, I will probably go Grover or Gilmore.
Yeah, I think for that game, I had to talk about the efforts of DeForest Buckner with 1.5 or 2.5 sacks in that game. He had a pass block as well on a big key drive late in the game. He really looked like his normal defensive tackle self. Don't know if it was just because he was a little bit healthier with that brace on now, but he definitely looked a lot better. And of course, one name that I think gets lost in it, I think is Rodney Thomas. You look at what Rodney Thomas did, almost had like 3 or 4 interceptions in that game. Just a couple of them he just couldn't quite get to. But I mean, yeah, he got his first NFL interception. played fantastic in the backfield. I mean, I don't know about you, but you think it'd be like a moral, like kind of a dilemma between trying to get him and Julian Blackman snaps together when Julian eventually comes back?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, that's going to have to be a conversation for sure. Which you want to head to, who you want to use more snap wise, but definitely depending on the scheme, I think they can both be used very well, and they can be definitely like depth pieces moving to the future. We definitely want both of them on the roster still because they can both have high value and both can contribute the same amount if they're both healthy and on the field. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting one moving forward for both of those guys for sure. But I don't know. In that battle, I think I probably will go with Thomas because he's a little bit more explosive.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other reason that like I don't feel insanely great about it. And this isn't really the defense's fault. Gilmore made the play at the end. I mean, you do what you give and you play with what you take. And at the end of the game, I mean, the Broncos should have won that game. You know, we saw the play on the right side. Just for some reason, Russell Wilson just for some reason did not look to the right side. I mean, what do you think the biggest issue is for the Broncos has been this year? Has it been the coaching, or do you think it's been Russell Wilson missing plays like that all year?
I think it's been a little bit of both. Inconsistency on the game plans and Russell Wilson, of course, the play wasn't designed for the open Sutton, but I mean, hey, it is, it is. I mean, I guess Russ didn't see anything, and that's the price you pay in the end zone going for that. You try and Gilmore, who's a former All Pro and former Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, why would you try that? So, of course, it's like 50-50 with the game plan and Russell Wilson. Them not running the football there is kind of crazy too, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the price you pay trying a DB like that. So I would say 50-50.
Yeah. He said it, man. I mean, Gilmore said it. Like he kept trying me, so I had to make him pay. I love that. I think that was a game. He became a lot more vocal after that one. I don't know. I don't know if that was like a game where he just felt like he showed everyone in the country just how good he actually still is. I don't know if that was like a redemption game for him or not, but he clearly was a little bit more vocal. And that was great to see. Let's shift to the offense here for a second. Is there anything besides the negative? Is there a positive that you felt you could take from what the offense did? Or like in a concept or something that they ran or an idea or something? Is there anything you felt like that was actually good?
Well, we're starting to see a little bit more consistency with the offense. Of course, the offensive line is still abysmal, but with the game planning, with crossing of the Alec Pierce situation and Michael Pittman Jr., it's like Matt Ryan's a little bit more comfortable targeting these guys, especially a guy like Alec Pierce, who's a rookie, but he has guidance of like a Reggie Wayne and a Michael Pittman Jr. All these guys implementing the game plan for him, and he's just stepping into his natural self, being that talent we hoped Alec Pierce can be. So for sure, I see the game plan between those guys looking a little bit more comfortably, and of course, Jackson stepping up out of Jonathan Taylor being injured. I kind of wanted that to happen anyway, and we've seen bright spots with this offense. With Taylor being out, I wanted the game to be implemented more passing than running anyway. So because I feel like we have a better chance of doing it with the blocking situation, passing will have to be key. But so letting Matt Ryan actually get a chance to throw the football and hitting his targets besides him fumbling or throwing an interception, that's the bright light I can usually see. The Alec Pierce stepping into his own.
Yeah. Make sure everybody again to like the stream. Greatly appreciate it, guys. Almost 100 people in here now. I think that was the one thing that I took away, not just from this week, but I think over the last 3 weeks, is that what you're seeing is these skill position guys are actually really stepping up and providing some kind of push for this offense. I hate when I talk about this offense, and I hate grouping them into the same category because you're seeing it over the last 3 weeks. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and then you're seeing the tight ends. They're really stepping up and making fantastic plays to keep the Colts in games when the offensive line is breaking down and Matt Ryan's not making good throws, and the concepts that the Colts are running are just terrible at times. these players are actually making plays when it matters. And I hate grouping them with the rest of this because it was funny because Ballard was telling us all offseason, right, that we don't need to worry about the tight ends and the wide receivers, right, because he felt comfortable with them. Well, it's funny because he's actually right. Like the wide receivers and the tight ends and the running backs have actually been doing their job. But the problem is the other group where he said that he felt confident in with the offensive line, where he's paying a lot of money to have on there, is not doing the job. So it's really odd that Ballard was right on the receiver end of things, but he's so wrong about the offensive line and what's going on. What is going on with this offensive line, Marcus? I mean, this is bad.
Yeah, inconsistency. I feel like, with this offensive line, you're moving everybody around, shuffling, and you could have had this solved maybe 2 seasons ago. Where your star left tackle gone, and then you get Eric Fisher, and he's gone. You get a guy like Dennis Kelly. You don't use him. You draft Bernard Rahman. You barely used him at the beginning. You had Matt Pryor struggle at that position for 4 games, and you didn't solve it yet. So then you wait until week 5 or 6, and then you say, okay, let's make an adjustment. So then you make that adjustment, and then you move Pryor to a spot right guard where he used to play, but he played right tackle before that. It's just an issue. I mean, I feel like the problem is resolving around the Colts offensive line coach, Chris Chaucer. If they can do something with that, I think that solves a bigger problem than what we're usually seeing right now. Because they've been rotating pieces. They're rotating guys that are struggling, putting them in different spots like it's going to make a difference when clearly it's not. So I think the offensive line staff coach, I think if they figure that out, maybe move him and get somebody else, maybe the light shines brighter and we actually figure it out from there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that when they shifted a lot of these players on Thursday night, I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe we will see some improvement because, Matt Pryor, he played right tackle for us the previous year, actually did fairly well. And then moving Braden Smith in, I thought, okay, can't be the worst thing in the world. He did play right guard. And of course, we know Ryman's going to have a few hiccups in the road because he is a rookie. But I mean, it didn't work. And it turns out that it was actually a even worse combination than what it actually was. And now everyone's trying to be like, what is the ultimate assembly for this offensive line group? I feel like I'm Captain America in the Avengers. I'm trying to assemble the best Avengers team possible to find a way to win this battle. And right now we just aren't in it. And then I know you saw this tweet. So in case anyone didn't actually see what was going on, so the Colts signed Ty Secchi to the practice squad, and then we had Zach Kiefer mentioning, only question, why aren't they playing Dennis Kelly? And then you have this response with Dennis Kelly coming down and saying, I literally don't know. And Sarah, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I'm confused here too, Marcus. Maybe you can help explain a little bit of the light to me because I don't understand it. You signed Dennis Kelly in the offseason. Everyone thought it was a great move for depth purposes. He gets hurt in the offseason. You're like, okay, well, obviously he's not ready yet, but he's healthy and you're still searching for your right tackle, but yet somehow, some way, you still do not put him at right tackle. And he's now going on Twitter saying, I don't understand it either. Like, what is going on right now with that?
I don't know. The coach situation is tricky when it comes to this offensive line because you can make moves all you want. You had a whole bunch of time to make these adjustments. Even after you tied with the Texans, then you lose to the Jaguars. You got blown out, by the way. That would have been life warning right there. After you get blown out by the Jaguars, the team that you lost to last year to kick you out of the playoffs, you get blown out. You should have started making adjustments at that point right there. I don't know personally what the situation is with this offensive line. I mean, if you were really considered about, contending for the playoffs or winning the division, these are adjustments you would have made a while ago. And they haven't did it yet. And you got a vet at that point, at Dennis Kelly, not playing at all. And your right tackle is currently struggling. I don't understand why you're not using him. I mean, I wish I had the answers, but I don't. It's just confusing to be a fan to understand, to try to figure out what are the Colts' motives for this season? If you see the same problems and you're not fixing it.
Hey Jeff, I wish, man. The level of anger I get from the Colts sometimes. It was funny too because I reacted to that game Thursday and I had no anger in me. I just had no emotion, and it sucks because I don't want to have to deal with that. But I don't want to have to deal with no emotion. But at the same time, I don't want to be angry all the time. Uh, at the end of the day, something's still got to get fixed here for the Indianapolis Colts. It is truly incredible that they're still only half a game back from Tennessee at this point, having not won a single divisional game. That is very sad to think about. I mean, Marcus, do you think this team somehow does, in fact, make the playoffs, even in this terrible division? Do you think that changes anything with like the feeling of Frank Reich and maybe even Ballard going into the offseason?
I hope it doesn't if we make the playoffs. I hope the light still shines on this situation that we need a new head coach. There's nothing wrong with Frank Reich as a person. But when it comes to the head coach situation and what we've done in his tier, we haven't really done anything. So it's kind of like, how much more do you want before you make that change? Of course, if we make the playoffs, it'd be great. Do we win the playoff game is another question. But I do think it's time for the Colts to make a head coaching change as of right now, because this offense and him being the offensive coordinator, air quote. I mean, of course, we have a person there in Marcus Brady, but we know who's calling the plays. It's not working. So I think we need to make that change in the offseason for sure.
Yeah, something needs to happen, and obviously we'll have more chances to talk about it. I will say this. We saw over the last 48 hours some really egregious officiating from some of these games. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at some of those hits that some of the quarterbacks were taking, and then I look at Matt Ryan just getting absolutely destroyed Thursday night. Not one roughing the passer was called on any of those, but yet Tom Brady gets flinged to the ground and tries to kick Grady Jarrett and then ends up getting a 15-yard penalty called in his favor, man. What is going on with these roughing the passers, man?
Hey, it's early in the season. The refs got it. I'd rather let the refs call it now than when it actually matters. The season's still early. And, if they do something like that in the playoff game, especially to a New Orleans Saints fans who's used to crazy flags, it's going to be an uproar. So, like I said, get your crazy flags out of the way now. Hopefully they'll fix it later. And, hopefully the refs don't get caught, gambling or anything in that situation on these games. Because these flags are kind of crazy, especially when you look at the situation with Tom Brady and Derek Carr. It's like, those are clean hits. There's no way that's a rough in the passer lane. And then you look at Matt Ryan, who's 38, just as almost the same age as Brady, almost getting flipped over on sacks. I don't know. It's a crazy situation with these refs. And we also got to check to see if it's the same referees too, because that'll start something.
Yeah, very, very true. I can't stand it. I just am so mad at the fact that obviously this is coming from the Tua situation with the protocol being put into place. And these officials are now, if there's anything that they deem it, but it's stupid because it's just like, we know what's bad. We know what's egregious and which ones aren't. And the fact that both of those were not even close to being egregious is what's truly saddening, because that Falcons game, that lost the game for the Falcons. That was a third down. Like that was the game. If they would have not called that, the Falcons could have gotten the ball back with 2.5 minutes left, had a chance to score a touchdown and win the game. And then the refs screwed them over that way. And that's what makes it worse, is like you mentioned, like now with it being regular season, it kind of doesn't feel as terrible like if it was a playoff game. But the sad fact of the matter is that call did probably screw the Falcons over. That could have been a huge win for them. They could be on top of the division right now if they had won that game. It's one of those situations where, dang, like that shouldn't have never happened. And then that Chris Jones one, I mean, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, what else is the man supposed to do? I saw the same clip all the time. They were talking about like when Kevin Hart was on NBA Countdown, you had Shaq and Barkley just carrying Kevin Hart, and they're like saying, putting him down ever so slightly. It's like, this is how the NFL wants you to tackle the quarterback right here, just like this. Just very easy. Like, man, this stuff needs to stop.
Yeah, for sure.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, 150 y'all in the stream right now. Can we get to 100 likes on the stream? Greatly appreciate it. My guy, Marcus, Culture Shock in the building. So, is there a game from this last week that surprised you? Like one that just above all the others? Because there were a couple of crazy ones.
Besides ours?
Besides ours, yeah.
I would definitely say that Buccaneers game. The Ravens and Bengals was a good game as well. Definitely came down to, of course, the field goal in which we knew Justin Tucker was going to make. Kind of jealous, by the way, because he doesn't miss field goals.
Yeah,
but that was a good game for sure. Definitely like that one. Another game that I would say maybe the Cowboys and Rams. The Rams are still, off their Super Bowl high, so they're getting exposed right now.
I think the Rams have the same issue the Colts do right now, which is the fact that their offensive line is terrible. They can't protect Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford isn't a mobile quarterback. So, I mean, when he's trying to make plays, but half the time he's just getting pressured and he doesn't have time to be able to do anything. And all he can find is Cooper Rush on an out route for 5 yards every time. And they just can't move the ball the way they want to. And that's the biggest issue for them. But I will say this, the ones that really are just crazy to me, the fact that New England just absolutely destroyed the Lions. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, the defense was definitely showing up on that game.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think the new coaches really are starting to get into a rhythm here for their new respective teams, especially the two teams in the New Jersey area, New York area with the Jets and the Giants. You got new coaches. Robert Saleh is only a few years into it now. Obviously, the Giants with a first-year head coach. And you're looking at the difference in what these teams are doing right now. I think that's the biggest difference. And I think that explains to me why the Colts should maybe move on from Reich, is the fact that you're seeing teams that are not as talented as what the Colts are right now, but yet you're seeing these teams put together better performances. And I think it's also because they're buying in to what the coaches are putting together. It's nothing glamorous. It's nothing crazy. And again, like the Giants outside of Saquon have no business scoring the ball the way that they are. The Jets, they still have a quarterback who was hurt for the first couple weeks and should not be playing the way that he is. And their whole team should not be playing the way that they are. But I think that they've simplified things and they've made it to where guys are buying in. And not to mention, I mean, I got into an argument with this a couple times over on Twitter, people saying that energy from a coach doesn't matter. It's not an important thing. The greatest coaches don't have them. But what you're seeing from the Jets and the Giants, you're seeing these coaches have a lot more tenacity. They have a lot more energy on the sidelines when their guys do great things. And I think that's important right now, Marcus, because it seems like the Colts just are losing their identity from a leadership perspective. Do you think that is a big reason as to why the Giants and the Jets are flourishing and the Colts seem to be struggling?
Yeah, I feel like Frank lost the locker room personally. You can only go through the same thing so many times. And then when you look at the Jets and the Giants, they both have young quarterbacks and young coaches. So it's definitely an energetic atmosphere. And you look at the offseason and the drafts and what they did, their processes, they both attacked the free agency and they both acquired good talent out the draft on the defensive side as well. So those are two things that the Colts are known for not really doing: having a good defensive draft and also acquiring talent for agency. So both of those things are a hit and miss when you look at their situation compared to ours. They do have a young quarterback. We have a 38-year-old quarterback. So yin and yang. I definitely am jealous of the current momentum those two teams are carrying besides ours. And yeah, we need to make that change as soon as possible so we can get some of that energy in Lucas Oil Stadium.
Is there a group of coaches that that you would like to have as the next coach for Indy?
Mm,
Because I got a couple of names.
you got a couple. I know Vic Fangio is still out there. But that's the only one I can really think of at the moment. So
What remind me of the defensive coordinator's name for the 49ers? You remember?
No.
Yeah, look that up very quick because I always forget his name. I always forget his name every single time. D'Amico Ryans. That's it.
Yeah.
D'Amico
I know a
is
lot of people
definitely a
talk
good one.
about Bieniemy as well.
Yeah. I think that you got the defense or the Detroit Lions OC. You got Ken Dorsey. You got D'Amico Ryans. I mean, and people say, oh, you need a offensive minded coach for that. I don't necessarily agree. I don't think that you have to have one of those. Bill Belichick has never really been a offensive minded coach. He's just been more of a well-balanced coach. But I think what you're seeing is the fact that Ryans, I mean, that defense was already good for the 49ers, but now they're the best at everything. I mean, there's not a single statistic that they're not first in. I mean, they are the best defense by a long shot. And I think that's why it's important because their defense is already elite. I think there's a couple more that you can mention, but let's kind of get into the coaching aspect of this because we already saw Matt Rule getting fired, and now you have everyone's talking about coaching now because of a couple teams that aren't doing good, a couple teams that are doing good. We saw we talked about Frank Reich. We obviously agree the same way when it comes to that. But when it comes to Ron Rivera, let's mention that real quick. So I'm assuming you saw the clip of him talking about Carson Wentz and that the quarterback position is what is separating the Commanders from being better than every other team in the NFC East. What was your take on that?
I laughed at first because I thought it was funny. But personally, I think it's incorrect. Of course, he complimented Carson Wentz after he said that. With he's inconsistent, but he still has the talent to prove himself. Yada yada yada. But when you look at their situation, it's like okay, their offensive line is still terrible. So I mean, that's not really helping Carson Wentz's situation to be any type of good. I mean, you've seen it at the beginning of the Titans game. He threw like a 60-yard bomb to Dotson for a touchdown. So I mean, it's the talent is there, but he just need a little bit more protection to be comfortable in what he's doing. And that's kind of like the same situation for Matt Ryan. I mean, but for Ron Rivera, it's like you have a defense that's injured prone, and then you have an offense who has all the talent in the receiving groups and tight ends, but you don't have an offensive line. But you have a quarterback who's going to play hero ball, so you're not helping yourself here. So, I mean, I think he kind of like shot himself with the foot there, slandering the quarterback, but then also praising him at the end, but then not looking at the bigger issue. So, I mean, if he doesn't fix that, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out the door soon.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people would say that he wasn't entirely wrong in what he said, but the problem is as a head coach, like that is a very bad thing to come out and say about it because then it just ruins all connection you have with the rest of the team when you start calling players out like that. And it's crazy because would anyone going into the season say that Daniel Jones was a better quarterback than Carson Wentz? No. Would people have said that Cooper Rush is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz? No. But yet somehow, some way, these two teams are winning games despite their quarterbacks not being great, and you're not. So what? I mean, people wanted to throw the jab at Carson Wentz, but you're right. Like it takes a totality of a team. Their offensive line's not good. Their defense is missing a lot of players. Overall, their team's not playing very good football. And of course, it's a easy scapegoat to throw Carson Wentz under the bus. And I think that is exactly the problem with Ron Rivera is the fact that he's making excuses for that situation. So I don't like that. I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Talking about last night the Raiders with Devante Adams. What was your thought on that? Because I mean, there's more reports coming out. Apparently, the guy who he pushed had to go to the hospital and apparently is filing a police report from what I've seen.
Well, he's doing what I was willing to do. If that was me getting pushed, I would have definitely been in the neck brace and in the hospital as well. So that's a smart man. Of course, tempers flared over with Devante Adams. You've seen that one play when him and Renfro ran into each other, like Renfro was playing the defense on Devante Adams. But it's just a lot of miscommunications. I don't trust Josh McDaniels. I think it has a lot to do with it as well. With that game planning. I mean, you have so much talent on that offense. And it's like, who are you going to feed? And I think that the Eagles bumps heads eventually. And then, Derek Carr isn't the best quarterback, but I trust him as a quarterback. And I think a lot of that has to do with game planning, because if you have a guy like Devante Adams on your team, you have to feed him. He's literally like unguardable. And then that opens it up for everybody else. So, I mean, I don't understand that situation with Devante. I understand why you're frustrated, because that's a team you could have beat. All you had to do was run a football against the Chiefs. Josh Jacobs literally couldn't be stopped that game. So I don't understand how they didn't just stick to the game plan. They got out of their own way, and then it costed them a 2-point loss. So I definitely understand why Devante was frustrated, but taking that out on the cameraman, it's going to cost you. Apologizing on Twitter ain't enough. So you already know a lawsuit was coming with that.
I know he did apologize to the media right after when the locker room came in. It was the first thing that he mentioned. I mean, at the end of the day, that cameraman didn't put himself in a great position there either. I'm not excusing Devante Adams and for what he did. Obviously, as frustrated as you can be. I mean, the cameraman wasn't trying to get in your face. There's no point in pushing him like that. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I don't know how that lawsuit's going to go, but nevertheless, you just got to be in that situation. You got to understand it from the perspective of, I'm sure he's freaking angry. I mean, that's probably the first game in a while that he actually got like really involved in the offensive game plan, and they still freaking lost. I mean, I think he came to the Raiders thinking that, things were going to go a different direction. And they're 1-4. They're not very good, despite the fact that, they have more offensive weapons than I think the Indianapolis Colts would have just begged to have any of them. I mean, you have potentially the best wide receiver in the NFL. You have one of the top 3 best tight ends in the NFL. You have one of the best slot receivers in the NFL. You have one of the top 15 best running backs in the NFL. And a quarterback who at times when he's playing his best is a top 10 quarterback in this league. And yet somehow, some way, they just continue to lose in epic fashion. I can see how that could make somebody very angry.
Josh
Angry
McDaniels.
enough to start pushing cameramen out of the way. I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. But at the same time, I do understand that, sometimes dudes be getting angry, I mean, it is what it is. They're human. They got emotions. Sometimes they do things that they wish they wouldn't have done. But yeah, you gotta chill when it comes to those.
Yeah, for sure. Just push your coach next time.
Push the coach. Just go ahead and push Josh McDaniel.
Yep. Like, you should have stayed in New England. He just goes to that division and ruins teams.
Bro, he's 6-0 when he started his career, his head coaching career. He is 6-21 since then. Like, I was talking with my friend. I was talking with my friend on another live stream from before, and he said, I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to get fired. I think Mark Davis has too much faith in him to try to restore this. I'm like, I don't know what games you're watching, but how in any way could you say that he has faith in McDaniels to turn it around? I mean, this team is way too talented to be 1-4 right now.
Man, that roster is like a scapegoat. If they succeed, they're like, oh, well, Josh McDaniels is under Bill Belichick's tree, yada, yada, yada. Well, Josh McDaniels is doing a terrible job holding on to leads and actually winning the game. So there, have at it.
Seriously. Comment section, what's going on? We got bots in here already. Good Lord.
Enjoying it.
Always got bots in here, man. Anytime the stream ever gets around 100 viewers in here, they always be hopping in here. What'd you think of the NFL protocol change and what they did with the concussion protocol?
I knew it was going to happen eventually, due to the Tua situation. Like I said, I think the NFL is just doing that to cover themselves. Personally, I feel like the doctors and the coaching staff should be on watch, or should have got fired due to putting him back in the game over the protocol in general. Because if they didn't put him back in the game, I don't think that would have been changed.
Yeah, it was funny because their explanation was hilarious now that I think about it, because they said the even though the Dolphins staff and the independent neurologist followed the protocol, they said this is not what we intended for the protocol. So it's like, oh well, we're giving a BS excuse to say there's something hidden within the rule that you should have done, even though you didn't do it. It's not in the rule, but you should have done it because it's common sense, right? That's what they were trying to get at. But at the end of the day, I like the rule change that they made, where now if a player is seen at any point either speaking funny or is walking funny or showing any kind of immobility in some way, shape, or form, then they have to come out of the game and they have to be examined and most likely be out for the majority of the game. I actually kind of like that rule.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Let's see here. What do we got? What's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's most worrying, Derek, is that our GM wanted McDaniels as a head coach. How good is his judgment based just on that?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it when we hired him. I hated it.
That's a little concerning too, to say the least. I completely forgot about that for a while, but that's very true. Yep. Ballard won't draft a QB, but he'll trade draft picks.
Every time.
What's your stance on that? Do you think that the Colts need to get their quarterback this offseason?
Yes.
By 100%, any means necessary?
100%. Whatever you have to trade, whatever you got to do. I don't care who it is. We need a quarterback. If you're so tired of this quarterback situation to keep getting vets, so just go draft one. Like, you had 3 chances to go do that, and you gave away your picks every time.
Yeah, I've been on for like 3 or 4 weeks. I've been on the Colts need to trade every single draft pick that they got to go and get one of 4 quarterbacks. Like, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I know everyone will keep telling me, don't go and get Stroud. They never do good in the NFL. Just don't do it. It's like, I refuse to argue with anyone that has that argument anymore. I just can't stand it.
I don't care who it is at this point. As long as we get a future, I can be a little bit more content in life and understand the process of why we're losing games.
Oh, man, I tell you what. Yeah, we saw the Dennis Kelly thing. Everyone is saying the same thing. What do you think the Colts would need to give up in order for us to move into the top 6 or 7 to get a quarterback? Like, I know obviously the draft order at the end of the season is going to make it a lot worse, but what's a general ballpark you think they're going to have to give up?
A star or a coming into his own type of talent. You've seen how we gave up Rocky Sin for a Yannick or Yannick. So we have to do the same thing in order to try to get a quarterback of the future. The player, I mean, like I said, personally, I don't care who it is. It could be Kenny Moore for all I care. Like I said, I love Kenny Moore personally, but if it's worth getting a future quarterback, have at it. I mean, he's gone. Like, you got to do what you got to do at some point. I mean, he's already got his contract. I mean, wherever he goes, I'm pretty sure he's going to be a star still. There's no personal feelings. It's just business at the end of the day anyway. So, I mean, whoever is gone is gone. Even if it's Julian Blackman.
Let's see, what do we got? 2 or 3 first-round picks. It's definitely going to have to be that. I definitely agree. What was your reaction to Matt Rule being fired from the Panthers? You think we had seen that coming?
Yeah, he should have been fired 2 weeks ago. So they did justice now, early. So hopefully get a new coach in there that sees the quarterback situation and know who he wants to start, and fix that game plan. Because I mean, they have the roster to be nice. Their defense is solid. I mean, they got a nice receiving core. They still got McCaffrey when he's healthy. I mean, they just fix the quarterback situation and come up with a better offensive scheme, and you have yourself a contender.
Absolutely true. Let's see here. Worst case scenario, where do you think the Colts end up, like draft wise?
It depends on if we're having a losing season. I will say we'll get a quarterback maybe late first or early second, because we still have to trade still. So I feel like we'll definitely make a move to go get a quarterback. So I would say early second or maybe late in first round. Who we trade? Interesting question. Will we trade? Interesting question as well.
I don't know, man. And everyone has kind of been on the same train of trying to talk about, do you trust Ballard to make that move? Right? Because Zach Hicks was talking about this, I think it was last week before the Broncos game, and was talking about how, because now all the rage is the Colts finding their next quarterback. And he brought up the news that, Ballard was all in on Fields, but he didn't want to take the risk of bringing in a rookie quarterback at this moment. And I'm just sitting here and I'm saying, like, well, if you don't want to take on that risk, just go out the building and let some other guy come in who will actually do that risk, because you can't just keep doing the quarterback carousel through all this, because inevitably your team's just not going to win games or get where you want to be if you're just picking up after somebody else's loose ends.
Yeah, the revolving door definitely affects the locker room too. You always bring in a new quarterback every year, not even really building a relationship with the leader of the team. So, I mean, that definitely plays a role in the locker room. And then, of course, you don't have any familiarity with the offense over a multiple amount of seasons. So there's a new guy every year. It's unfortunate, and I mean, I'm just as tired of it as the players are. So, I mean, of course, Ballard, you have to do something, but building through the draft and everything is kind of like Ballard's motive. But trading, it's like he usually just trades back in the draft to actually trading up.
Yeah, I'm tired of the trade backs. I want to go trading up. I want to see some risk. I want to see something happen. But I don't know if I'd trust Ballard to do that right now. He has this weird thing. He's not about taking risk. He's really not about taking risk. He's not about risk in free agency. He's not about risk in drafting, all of these things. And I just don't know, like, if I can trust that if even Irsay came in there and said, I feel like the only way it would change, Marcus, is that if Irsay literally came in there to his office and said, so here's the deal. Unless you go and trade up and go and get a quarterback this offseason in the draft, you will not be here at the end of the draft. I will fire you if you do not take this initiative, because I'm telling you to, because I'm the one that owns this team. I'm the one that gets the final decision at the end of this. The one thing I ask you to do, and I need you to do it, is go and get the quarterback. And that's the only way I could see this working, is by doing that. And the reason Ballard would do it is if Irsay did it. And I don't know if Irsay is that kind of guy to go and do that. He's not Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I don't think he is that type of guy either. Especially when you look at it, like him actually talking to him. I mean, what did he talk to him at the end of the year? After the Jaguars loss, it's like, if he did, what did he say? Because nothing changed. It's like, I'm scared for him to actually go in there, because I feel like he's just going to talk about something else that has nothing to do with the quarterback position. I mean, I think he trusts him a little too much, in my opinion. So I think at the end of the year, I think we need to start cleaning house.
I think we need to, because you're right. I mean, and that's the problem with what we're dealing with now is, I'm sure you've seen it, and you probably had it in some of your comment sections as well, in some of your videos. People are just saying, like, why are you overreacting to the fact that we're 2-2-1? Like, there's plenty of teams that are below us. Why are you worried so much? It's not the fact that it's the record. It's the fact that we have had this record every year that we have had Frank Reich as a head coach. And even when the roster seems to be improving year in and year out, it's the same result. Different years, same result. And great coaches just don't do that. Great coaches don't start off the season bad every year, and you just don't do that. Like, and it's the same result all the time, and that's why we're so upset, because I don't want to have to start off the year looking like this every single year. And the problem is, as well, is this is different than other years. And I made a video about this like last week or something, that when we're talking about what we've seen in years past with Frank Reich versus what we're seeing this year, the Colts have primarily been a pretty decent offense. Even though in the beginning year they struggle, it's normally been a imbalance of both sides of the ball. Imbalance offensively, they're just not in sync. Imbalance defensively, coverage is just not there. This year, it's all offense. Not a single thing works for them. And that's what's sad, is the fact that this offense is only scoring 13.5 points a game. Like, this team is progressively getting worse. And the way they're playing right now, everyone keeps saying, oh, they are going to find a way to make things work. Not with the way this offense is playing right now.
And it's crazy that you have the recipe to be successful, but you just don't implement it. You have 3 red zone targets, in my opinion, on your roster. And every time we get to the end zone, we just cannot find a way to get in there. It's like it's blocked or something. But you have 3 tight ends that are almost over 6 foot. 3 red zone targets. You have Michael Pittman Jr. if you want to use him. He's another red zone target. I don't want you running the football in the red zone, because I feel like the blocking is just going to hinder it. But like I said, you have 3 to 4 red zone targets that you never use in the end zone. Even that one game when Jelani Woods scored 2 touchdowns, that was your red light. That was your signal right there. Your end zone touchdowns is Jelani Woods. Just throw the ball to him. He's going to catch it. And then you have Mo Alley Cox. He had a game. Your tight ends, Matt Ryan's favorite position is tight ends. Just feed them the football, and you're getting in there. Now, I'm not a coach, but me looking at it from TV, it's pretty obvious that they're going to catch the football when they're down there. You can't guard them. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could keep going back and forth for that. Like, it's all coaching. I mean, at the end of the day, I see the wide receivers and tight ends making plays. I see the running backs trying to make plays. Just everything else in between, it's just not working. And, I mean, at the end of the day, the coaches need to figure out how to turn your weaknesses and work against them. And it just doesn't seem like the Colts do that. It just seems like they want to continue to run the same thing. And if they die by the offensive line, they're going to die by the offensive line and not change anything. I mean, I saw a play yesterday. I highly doubt this was part of the script, but in the overtime game where Matt Ryan sees that Paris Campbell has his corner off of him by like 10 yards, he just gets it, throws it straight to Paris, and just let Paris make a play with his feet. And then it ends up being a 20-yard gain that puts them in field goal range. So I'm just like, see, that's the crap I'm talking about. Like, why can't like this happen more often? Like, why does it have to look so terrible with the way our offense works? Like, why can't we use some of our good weapons? And for the 200 people that are in here right now, I still want to just tell everybody this. My stance on Paris Campbell has not changed. He should stay on this team. I think it is a tragedy that this offense has found no way of getting him involved in the offense. They always send him in motion before the play starts, but they never do anything with him. They always just have him as a decoy. They don't throw it to him till the 4th quarter when the game is either on the line or already over. Like, he gains more separation from his corners than any other wide receiver on our team. And yet somehow, some way, Matt Ryan and this offense never find a way to get him involved. It's sickening to me. I don't know if you feel the same way, Marcus, but I mean, that just again goes to show me that it has to do with the coaching, that they're not getting him and guys like Hines involved as well.
Yeah, I will use the example that you mentioned. At the end of the game, we were like on the 2 yard line, and Paris Campbell, we were in the 5 wide. Paris Campbell gets the ball, even though it was over. We got it in I think it was the Texans game, but we were in a 5 wide set, and Paris Campbell gets a quick slant, and he goes like 40 yards down the field, like and untouched, by the way. And then at the end, it just didn't matter because it was already over. But he's just one of those guys, those speedsters. And we mentioned how he can be like a Deshaun Jackson when healthy, but with this offensive line, it just doesn't help that situation, and it doesn't help Matt Ryan either. After, like I said, I mentioned this a while ago, the poor offensive lines that Matt Ryan has seen has broken him. I think he's at a point where he's not going to be healed personally. So I feel like as we're just going to be stuck with this Matt Ryan. I mean, it sucks because we know what he can be if he does have a protection, and he even shows those flashes in games, like those game-winning drives to get us in the clutch to actually kick a field goal to try to win. Like those game-leading drives, he's still Matty Ice. He still shows those potentials of what he can do. I just think the success, if the Colts want to be any type of successful on the offense, our best bet is to just run a hurry up offense. I think it's just that simple. But of course, we're not the coaches; we are the viewers. But I think if we want to see the light for the Colts, and they can still turn the season around, hurry up offense is the way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it feels weird because Matt Ryan's had that attitude coming into training camp, and we were like, huh, like maybe that is a new way that we do things now. And it just seems like that's not been a thing ever since the season started. So I heard the arguments of Matt Ryan and Frank Reich getting into it on the sideline the first week when Matt Ryan wanted to go faster and Frank Reich did not. Wondering, just how much that is impacting how the season's going. I mean, at least the one good thing we can say is, these wide receivers, like I mentioned before, got to give props to Alec Pierce, man. After week one and that abysmal week one that he had, and then getting injured, it would be very easy to fall and say, oh man, like my season just feels like it's over, man. It looks terrible. And then sure enough, each week he's getting better and better, and he's becoming the number one wide receiver on this team over the span of each week. I mean, you got to feel happy that Alec Pierce is starting to show what he's showing.
Yeah, definitely catching the football and stride, stepping into his own, like being able to go to be used inside and out, and to catch a jump ball at that radius as well that we've seen in college. It's just a beauty of thing. It's just a thing of beauty, especially having a guy on the sideline like a Reggie Wayne who is mentoring him through the process. It's Alec Pierce is everything we wanted him to be. It's just that simple. And we talk about this draft process of who we draft, but I think that's one hit that we get out the draft. Alec Pierce is a dog, and he's going to be so good when we get an actual quarterback and a good offensive line and maybe a different head coach. I mean, but hey, if all things go wrong, we still got Sam Ehlinger. All right, I'm kidding.
Hey, listen, I know Colts fans are entertaining this idea, but obviously the Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson did not re-sign with them. He's going to pretty much be a free agent next offseason if he decides not to sign a contract with them. Now, while they said that they can franchise tag him, there is no possible way that Lamar Jackson's going to play on the franchise tag, not with the way he's playing right now. Do you entertain that idea of bringing Lamar here?
I entertain a lot of ideas. I mean, you know me. With the whole Stafford thing and Russell Wilson, I will campaign each and every quarterback that's available. I don't care who it is. And if you want to entertain this idea, give you a food for thought. Lamar Jackson and this offensive line, Piece of cake. That's the easy first down.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about it. He can run away from him.
That's the easy first down.
You don't need to worry about
to
that.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, it is funny. And especially because this year, I mean, what he's leading the NFL in passing touchdowns right now, which is absolutely insane to think about. He just said, okay, you want me to prove that I actually am a quarterback? All right, here, I'm about to go do it. And he has. I mean, he's been incredible this year. Always question on whether or not he's going to play the same once he gets paid. That's the biggest question mark there. But that's where I'm at. I want the best chance possible for the Colts to get whoever they can, whether it's drafting a guy or end up trading for somebody. Okay, entertain this idea. Justin Fields, just for thought.
He's young. I mean, he'll be our franchise quarterback, so I'm sold. Like I said, I don't care who it is. It could be Jake Locker. As long as it's a franchise quarterback, I'm tired of this carousel. It just has to be somebody that we can keep for 2 years at least, because we've had a quarterback every year since 2019. I'm kind of sick of it personally. I mean, I know the people that's building up those signs on Lucas Oil Stadium or those propagandas. I know they're sick of it too. Like, all right, who is it this year? Matt Ryan? Okay, who was it last year? Phillip Rivers. All right, Jacoby Brissett. I know they're sick of that too. We're sick of it. Get us a quarterback.
Hey, I mean, I think the issue is when you look at Justin Fields, I see both sides of the argument when people are making this argument. Is one side, he is a terrible quarterback. He does not play well, yada, yada, yada. The other side, you have the Bears are a terrible organization and don't use him well. There's truth to both sides of this. It's just depending on which one do you prefer to weigh more than the other. Now, me personally, I like weighing the side of the Bears have ruined him aspect of it more than the other one. But I think most of Colts Nation wants to weigh the other one a little more because he's another Ohio State quarterback, and they don't want to accept the fact that maybe Fields actually could be good if you gave him some weapons. You worked on a better offensive line. You gave him a coach that could actually call plays offensively, be in a better situation for that. But I don't know. I think I'm at the point where I don't want to have him just because I'm looking to just find our guy. But then again, if Ballard's sticking around and if what Zach said is true about Justin Fields in the first place, then why not make that move? Especially since it probably won't take much to get him anyway.
If Ballard sticks around, our next veteran quarterback will be Mohamed Sanu, and I will not be surprised. Him or Jarvis Landry.
Who's your top 4 quarterbacks for the draft this upcoming year in order?
In order, that's tough.
Because I got mine.
You got yours?
Yep.
You can go first.
All right. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. That's my 4 in order.
Yeah, a lot of people have been on the Hooker train.
Yeah, I think especially what you just saw last weekend, him just lighting up LSU. It'll be interesting to see what he does against Alabama. If he looks good there, then I think it's safe to say that this guy could be a really good prospect going forward. But I like Stroud because I think that Stroud is the most complete package. I think that when you look at it from the perspective of his accuracy, in my opinion, is the most accurate ball in college football. Bryce Young, I mean, he's played with a lot of great people. He understands how to run an offense. He's smart. He's mobile. He's able to get away from things. Will Levis, the arm talent mixed with the decision-making, he is what people dream of because he makes that Kentucky team really good. Without him, they're below average. He makes them really good, and he makes some throws that very few quarterbacks in college football can make. And then Hooker, I mean, Hooker's a star in the coming. I mean, he's got a great deep ball. He has the ability to move a little bit. Still not as accurate, I would say, as some of these other guys, but Hooker does have a beautiful deep ball.
Yeah, I would probably think Levis is definitely a Colts guy that would probably get drafted to the
Yes.
Colts.
Yeah, I
So
can
I would
see
probably
that.
go Young, Stroud, Levis, and Hooker.
All right. I feel it. Of course, everyone's saying you're biased. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying Caleb Williams. I don't want to wait another year. I don't want to wait.
I'm tired of waiting. No.
No, there's no point in waiting because then you're just wasting other guys' careers for another year. There's just no point. Levis is smoke and mirrors. His numbers not good against SEC teams. I don't care what his numbers look like. He doesn't have a great roster.
It's
He
just
doesn't have a
talking
great
about
roster.
potential and play style, not
Yeah, it's
numbers.
how he plays, not the numbers. It's how he plays. And Levis has great pocket maneuverability, and he just has a beautiful arm. He really does.
I think Daniel
Hooker-
Jones is a great example about that. Look what the college he went to.
Yeah. Now we're about to get into the arguments of which quarterback to take. Here we go. Anthony Richardson, he is going to be a 2024 prospect. I assure you that. He's not developed enough yet right now to be a 2023 quarterback draft prospect. We got to get Stroud and Njigba. There's no way. Njigba is going to be a first round draft pick too. He might be the first receiver taken off the draft board. You can't get Njigba and Stroud. You know how many draft picks that Ballard would have to give up to make that work?
Yeah, that's a lot of trading back for Ballard, not trading up.
And I love also, Marcus, and I think a lot of people, the same people that are telling you that Ohio State wide receivers never do well in Indianapolis, they now all of a sudden want Njigba and they want Harrison Jr. Just because of daddy's name, right? Daddy's name, Harrison Jr. It's the only reason, right?
Yeah. he gets the cut, because he's Harrison Jr. He gets the cut. Don't matter what college he went to.
Would you trade Taylor for a first in this draft?
You asking me? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I am content with that. That's not even a question. And you're trading him before a contract deal.
Exactly. I think, I saw somebody say, Stroud and Harrison Jr. Bruh, could you imagine? I mean, Stroud and Harrison already have a beautiful relationship with that, but man, I could only imagine having Marvin Harrison Jr. in Indy with CJ Stroud. That would be
Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, could you imagine how OP that Pittman, Pierce, and Marvin Harrison Jr. would be if they had a quarterback that actually threw it to them in the red zone? I mean, it's impossible. There's not a single defense that could find a way to stop that.
I would buy season tickets.
Facts, dude.
I would buy season tickets.
Same. Shut up, Matt. He's trying to get at me here.
Yeah,
he's on the Stroud train too, but a lot of other people aren't.
He said, "Oh, the offensive line will stop that." Yeah, you might be right.
True. Yeah, totally true. Would you trade JT to get Stroud and Harrison?
Yep,
obviously Harrison's not coming in this draft, but yeah, I would definitely trade that to get an extra first. Oh, 100%. If we could get a quarterback, because then you have 2 first rounders, and that would just be phenomenal. Take the Bills draft pick while you're at it. I guarantee you they give up a first and more for Jonathan Taylor. They're apparently trying to get Christian McCaffrey. Deal Taylor. Besides, that's one of Ballard's feathers in the cap. I don't care if that's Ballard's feathers in the cap. We know what the NFL consists of nowadays. Tell me one team that is really, 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 really good and their running back's elite. Who? I mean, they don't. The Chiefs don't have a top 15 running back. Neither do the Bills. I mean, the Chargers do, but the Chargers aren't elite at the moment. And we're talking about the Eagles, best team in the NFC. Miles Sanders is good, but he's not elite. I mean, it's what it is.
Austin Eckler's so good, man.
He is good, man. Could only imagine having that guy. It's
right, like
he's
both.
Like Naheem Hines and like just Hines just on steroids.
Yeah. I do have a crush on the Buffalo Bills too. I've been loving them for a minute. It's good to see that they're finally catching their stride and being a good team. Well, the number one team, I would say. Yeah, Chubb is the best back in the league. I agree.
Yes, he is at this moment.
Yeah.
Him and Saquon right now are
Yeah.
absolutely the best.
Mm-hmm. It was a joy watching Saquon beat the Titans.
What top 5 team has a generational guard and an elite running back? Well, not an elite running back, but I'd say the Chiefs have a really good guard in Joe Thuney. That's about it, though.
Yeah. JT's just another dude.
Reserve currency out here just trying to troll us, man.
Yeah, Stephen Pierce. I knew Pierce was gonna be good for Houston. When they got Marlon Mack, I was watching him during the preseason. Like, I already knew he was gonna be a starter for sure. And he's another tank that we have to worry about in AFC South, and which I hate. Because him and Henry are both giving headaches. Pierce took like 12 players to the end zone the other week. I forgot who it was, who he was playing. I think it was the Titans, if I'm not mistaken. Pierce is just like a baby Derrick Henry, but faster.
Pierce on the Texans is good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think people are even saying he might be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's playing really well right now.
Oh, it was the Jags? All right, thanks. I knew it was somebody. Looked like Derrick Henry on that Old Spice commercial.
What are your feelings about trading away Kelly in favor of Pinter as center? I'd be fine with it at this point. I think Kelly's performance has just gotten worse and worse over the last 2 years. It's not going to get better, in my opinion. Well, and I think there's only one piece on the offensive line that the Colts aren't going to even deal with, and that's Quentin. I mean, regardless of what people say about his money and everything else, he's staying in Indianapolis. There's no question about it. I mean, there's only 2 pieces that the Colts can't afford to trade away, and it's Quentin Nelson and Shaquille Leonard at this point. Those are the only 2. Outside of that, anyone else to me is on the chopping block.
Definitely.
What could we get for Kelly? I ain't have any friggin' idea. At this point, I'm not 100% sure. What else do we got here? Yeah, so chat. We got 200 of you in here right now. Let me just ask you. So for quarterback's sake, when we're talking about what quarterback you guys want, just one name. If you could have one name. Now, obviously, it needs to be realistic. We're not talking about Patrick Mahomes here. We're not talking about Josh Allen. It's not how it works. We're talking about when it comes to players that are going to be available. We're talking about Lamar Jackson, talk about Justin Fields, talk about these quarterbacks from this year. What is one guy you want? One guy. I don't care who it is, as long as it's one guy that realistically the Colts could get in this offseason. First name. Take Jimmy G. Why?
So you basically want Matt Ryan again.
Exactly. Kyler Murray trade. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't want to pay Kyler Murray that kind of money. Fields. Lamar. Carr. There's some Lamars. Levis.
Jacoby Brissett. Sign it.
Lamar.
Bring back Jacoby.
Everybody just saying Lamar.
I mean, I'm not shocked.
No drafting nobody, guys. Tyler, I think Lamar could be a Colt. He only cares about the money right now. That's why he didn't sign with the Ravens, because they didn't give him the guaranteed money that he wanted.
Cooper Rush.
Who be saying Cooper Rush?
In the chat.
Who be saying that?
Austin. Chad Kelly? Yeah, him talking about us on the Twitter is hilarious. He said Uncle Rico. Man, I want an Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. Yes, I did mention the draft. Draft and free agency. Anyone that we could trade for, anyone that we can pick up in free agency, anyone we can pick up in the draft this year. Who y'all got? I see some Levises. I see some a Stroud. I see a few Strouds. And we got Aaron Rodgers enter the building.
Levis needs a Levi brand.
You think Aaron Rodgers would prefer? I'll tell you one thing. Aaron Rodgers would not prefer this team right now, because the way the offensive line's playing, he'd probably hate this team.
He will be a new co-host on the Pat McAfee show permanently.
Facts. Yeah, facts. Or he'd be like doing some like Joe Rogan part-time. Draft, hooker, trade, free agency, Justin Fields. Okay. Johnny Football. Oh my gosh. You see Chad Kelly tweeting after that game Thursday? Yeah. He's like,
enjoyed it.
If either one of my teams want to come calling, man, I'm available. Okay, I'm available. Was Anthony Castanzo good because he retired? The O-line started to get bad. That's how I'm seeing it. 100% he was good. 100%. It is clear that the offensive line dropped a little bit when he left.
And he was the best receiver. Sam looks good enough to start the whole season.
I don't know about that. I mean, honestly, I'm at the point where, like, guys, it's not even putting Sam Ehlinger in there is not going to change anything. Sam Ehlinger is still going to get sacked just as much as anybody else. Who the heck is saying Sean Clifford? Who's saying that?
The guy smiling at the profile picture
from Penn State. Yeah, Sean Clifford, who's in like his 6th or 7th year at Penn State. It's no wonder Penn State never eclipses anything, because their quarterbacks are trash. The rest of that team is really freaking good, but their quarterback holds them back, man. I'm telling you. They would clearly be a top 10 team in college football if they had a semi-competent quarterback. Sean Clifford's 50. I'd take Kirk Cousins.
Log out.
No, not.
Log out.
Yeah, just leave this chat, Super Pony. Get out of here. Who would y'all pick? Okay, one guy, Marcus. Just one guy.
Lamar Jackson. That's the receiver, running back, and quarterback. He's an athlete. He's not just a quarterback. He's an athlete.
I'm taking CJ Stroud. I don't care what anybody tells me. Brian Williams. I think it's funny how our starting quarterback situation is one of the worst, but our backup quarterback situation is one of the best. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it definitely can be, but nope. It sucks that we're in that situation.
Our head coaching situation too.
Yeah, very true. How about we put you in it, quarterback, Derek? Bro, nobody would want my ass being quarterback, dude.
Run, Derek, run!
Run, Forrest, run! Like, bro, I'm too heavy for that. I'm not tall enough for that. My hands aren't big enough to handle that. Everybody wants Chad Powers. Hey, Chad Powers might be better at this moment. Who knows? Nah, Jarvis, I don't buy it. Dak may be on the move. I wouldn't mind Dak. I don't think he's on the move. Derek, you predict the ball better than Matt Ryan? I would like to think so.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I do, but Sean Payton going to be available next season? I don't know. He said there was only a few select teams that he would come and coach. And I don't think the Colts is one of them. I think the Cowboys were his top selection.
Of course.
Trace McSorley. The man who had a song named after him. Man. Left tackle will be you. Culture shock.
Yeah, I played pretty good left tackle in flag football. And you know, this is a flag football league. So
let's make him the quarterback, and I'll be left tackle.
Flag football league.
Or no, I'll play right tackle because that's where we need the biggest issue. Help at right now, apparently. I'll be right tackle. Culture shock be quarterback. All of our issues are fixed right there and then. That's it. That's a wrap.
So long.
We win in every game. I mean, backyard football. This man here probably is the best that's ever done it.
Frank Reich dropped the play. I'm saying, nah, it's okay. Michael Pittman Jr. is down there somewhere. I'm just going to throw it up. Just throw it up.
Turn into Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase out here.
Just throw it up.
Matt says I was a great center in Pee Wee football. Derek, how about KJ Jefferson out of Arkansas? KJ is in my tier 3 of quarterbacks. I like him. I think he's an athlete. He definitely has some good things, but I think he's still a little indecisive with the football. He doesn't show as much of the passing traits as some of these other guys. So, you know, it's one of those situations where I don't know if I would trust it. I don't know if I'd trust that because my issue is I don't want tier 2 or tier 3 guys. I want tier 1. That's what this team needs. They need tier 1. They need the Stroud, the Young, the Levis, the Hooker. They need those guys. That not some Van Dyke, not some Richardson, not some BS out here, some KJ Jefferson. Hey, JDW, I know you in here, and I know you don't like the fact that I'm dissing your boy like this, but KJ Jefferson ain't it, bro. Just saying it. I used to run track. Now I'm a power lifter. Use me whenever. Bro, where are you at? Why are you here in my chat? Why aren't you working out for the Colts right now?
You should be a professional wrestler.
KJ stinks. Replace Frank Reich with me. My playbook and Madden will come in clutch, and we're going for onside and 4th downs all the time.
Definitely goes for it or fourth down a lot. So
Yeah, he already does. Somebody's saying Ryan Day come in as the new coach for Indianapolis. Look, I love Ryan Day, and I actually think he'd actually do very well of doing that. But the problem is Ryan Day ain't leaving Ohio State, man. He ain't leaving Ohio State. There's no reason to. There's no reason to. You're in one of the premier colleges in all of the NCAA, and you're in the running for the college football playoff every year. Why would you ever want to leave it? Like that's different for other guys. He ain't Harbaugh, who tried to leave his team to go to the Vikings, but then the Vikings said nah. Just get Manning back in here. Is the Colts not a quarterback retirement home? Jeez.
Yeah, you're onto something. Well, if that's the case, then bring back Andrew Luck.
I would love for that to happen. But
it's a retirement home.
I tell you what. Max Duggan, who is that? What round do you take Max Duggan? I don't know who that is. Now I got to look it up because now you've given me a task. Who the heck is this? Oh, the quarterback for TCU. Oh. Well, I will say this. He does have 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. That is pretty good. Then again, only has 1,300 yards. Not doing insanely great there.
Yeah,
I will appreciate the fact that he does have those touchdowns to interception ratio. That is really freaking dope. But I think it has a lot more to do with who he's throwing the ball to. That TCU wide receiver they got, he is so good. Like 6'4", 215 pounds, and can run a 4.3. Like that should just be illegal.
Yeah.
It's like
you're going to see a lot more of that. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Went a little longer than I would have anticipated, but that's fine. Want to give a huge shout out to Marcus, aka Culture Shock, for hopping back in here for the first time. It feels like forever. Finally getting him back onto the podcast, man. I appreciate you hopping on and doing this with me today. Free Culture Shock. Appreciate the invite. I'm always around. Cool chatting with you. Chatting with the chat. Just chatting.
Absolutely, man. Well, everybody, let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.